really be irritated by the officials. How you been, Randy? And Randy McCall, we just said hello to, got here literally about 45 seconds ago. His plane was late getting in from Denver, so they thought they were going to go at 2. They get McCall, though, who's the lead official.
Randy's like Superman. He just came in out of the phone booth ready to go.
And we are ready to go. Boise State is in the white with the blue trim, the all blue uniforms of Utah State. Here's Duncan backing his way in against Collette. He gets double teamed, loses the basketball.
Really good post defense by Collette there. You can see that Utah State has elected not to come double the post catch on Duncan in particular.
That's unusual, a turnover. Both of these teams take great care of the basketball, and that will count. Inside move, a post up for Julian Perry, the 6'3" freshman from McKinney, Texas.
Well, good start for the Aggies. This is the most inexperienced team that Stu Morrill has ever coached in 29 years of being a head coach. He only returned 4 players from last year's team, and he really likes this team. They're getting better, but boy, they are inexperienced.
Well, Jenny touched on the fact that they were picked 10th, which is so unusual for a Stu Morrill team. I mean, they're usually going to the NCAA tournament, but he feels they're a little farther ahead of the curve. With all of the inexperience, they're playing very good defense. The biggest issue has been rebounding the basketball. They're -8 on the glass.
Well, now they're back in their second defensive possession. They're in a zone. They manned the first possession, zoned this second possession. Look for them to man on misses and zone on makes to try to keep Boise State out of rhythm.
2 possessions, 2 turnovers. Thompson loses it. Ahead of the field is Chris Smith, and he'll throw it down. 5-0 Utah State on the road.
And that is great news for the Aggies. They have had a bad habit of getting off to bad starts in games earlier this year, and that's one of the things that was such a head scratcher for Stu Morrill, but off to a 5-0 start here today.
Against your old team, Weber State, they were down 18 at the break and came back and won.
That is a fact. They also got down 16-2 against Santa Clara and came back to win.
Here's Perkins with some open floor. Jalen Moore gives it up.
Watch as the night continues. Jalen Moore gets to a lot of three-point shots, being the trail guy on the break, where his guy goes to the paint and he trails a play, and Perkins will just kind of pitch it back to him, and he'll catch it in rhythm and shoot.
They get it into Collette pretty deep, and he flips it up, and it will not stay home. Strong rebound for James Webb III, a 6'9" sophomore. He's from Augusta, Georgia.
And you see the Aggies back in their man-to-man again. I think their philosophy is man-to-man on misses and zone on makes.
Marks, the pull-up jumper won't go.
Boise State's been straight man-to-man here in the early going.
Moore skip pass down low to Collette. Good ball movement. Collette missed a shot he ordinarily would make.
Collette coming off a tough game. 0 for 4 in their last game, and that beat down to San Jose State.
Whoa, bodies flying. 3 bodies hit the deck hard. The last one being Julian Perry, and he is slowly rising.
Drew, I was talking about David Collette. One of the things that has really plagued this team this year is inconsistency, both individually and collectively. Boy, that was a tough fall there. But Collette gets 32 points, 14 rebounds at USC, and in a game where they win in a beatdown of San Jose, he goes 0 for 4 with 1 point. And that's kind of what has been the Aggies' calling card all year. Again, it's just kind of inconsistency.
There's a jumper knocked down by Darius Perkins. It's a 3. His 26th triple of the year, and it's 8-0 Utah State. Marks on the other end, and Boise State is on the board. That's his 26th triple of the year. You mentioned Collette. In fairness, he was battling the flu in his last outing, but still, you go from 32 at Southern Cal to 1 against San Jose.
Well, he's a terrific freshman in this league. He's 21 years old, but this is his first year of Division I basketball. He's going to be a really, really good Mountain West Conference player.
Perkins hits again. Darius Perkins, a converted 2 guard. He's junior college transfer from Miami-Dade. Rare jumper from the lefty, Igor Hadjomarovic, and he knocks down a triple. Shooting the basketball from the perimeter much better this year.
Well, this is the first time in a couple of years he's been healthy. He has battled a variety of injuries in his last 2 years. That was a great draw and kick by Mikey Thompson, penetrating that seam in the zone, drawing two defenders and kicking it over there.
Pretty shot from Jalen Moore. And that's what you talked about, Joe. He can go inside, we know. He can also step out on the perimeter.
Well, at 6'8", he can shoot over his own, and you're right, he does have a pretty shot. His dad, Jimmy, a great player at Utah State. I'm sure he worked on that shot at a very early age with Jalen.
Yeah, Jimmy is in attendance. Jimmy is a longtime assistant athletic director at Utah State. He's made the drive up to watch his son play. His eldest son is redshirting this year at Utah State.
Jimmy also was assistant coach at Utah State for a while. That's where I first met Jimmy. Fine gentleman. Great college player. Played a little bit professionally and then kind of settled in to raise his family, but just a wonderful gentleman.
Collette misses the little runner. 13-5, Utah State by 8, and Mikey Thompson missed there. Jalen Moore leading a 4-on-3. And the layup is good by Chris Smith, and this is the exact start Stu Morrill wanted. 15-5, a 10-point advantage for the Aggies on the road.
Jalen Moore showing his versatility. Most of the time, you don't want a 6'8" guy handling the ball like a point guard. He made a great decision there. Not only the right pass, but avoided in a charging foul.
Out of bounds. It will stay with Boise State, but first a timeout. 15-5 Aggies, 14-14 to go in the first half. Here's Moore from the perimeter.
Right at the rim and hires a decent shooter from three. Marks might have been better off trying to finish that play himself.
Utah State has made 5 of their last 7 shots, and I think the key ingredient early also, Joe, is they've been even Steven on the glass.
Yeah, and that's been a big deal for Utah State all year. As you said, -8 for the year on the glass.
And they get it inside to Collette, and he has his first bucket.
Someone fell asleep on the weak side, a side away from the defense there. If you're going to get out and hard show that ball screen, someone's got to pick up the roll, and someone, again, on the weak side of the defense was not alert there.
Thompson kicks it. Marks pulls up from 17.
Splash. Well, you'll see that the rest of the night and the rest of the season. Thompson to Marks, Marks to Thompson. Both good-sized guards that can get to the paint with ease, and at 6'3" and 6'4", they can throw over most perimeter guys in whether it's man-to-man or zone.
Smith misses from point-blank range. That shot was contested. Here's Marks in transition. That's not an easy layup. He had to go up high on the glass.
Over Collette, who's 6'8" with long arms, but poor transition defense by Utah State. That's kind of a stake in the heart of most coaches to give up an easy basket like that in transition.
Collette upstairs. Utah State getting anything they want right now on the offensive end.
Same play, and at that time, as much as I like Derek Marks, he was the guy that was supposed to be over there in the paint picking up that roll.
And the roll, hometown roll for 3 from Marks. He's got a dozen.
I'll forgive him for that defensive mistake. He gave up 2 and got 3. So, but they're going to have to guard that pick and roll a lot better than that, or it's going to haunt them the rest of the night.
5-point game. Aggies just inside the 9-minute mark, leading on the road.
Well, if you've ever played against a Stu Morrill team or watched with a critical eye, you know one of the things he does better than anyone in the country is his team execute at half court exactly like that. Collette just getting rich off of that pick and roll. 2 layups and an easy jump shot. Boise State is going to have to make some sort of adjustment on that exact play, that pick and roll.
They put Harris right now on Marks. And now the help by Harris underneath, knocked away from Mikey Thompson. 10 on the shot clock. Substitutions for Boise State. Hadziomировich coming back on, and James Webb coming back. Heyer and Thompson go out.
Hadziomировich is the best defender on this Boise State team. And talking to their coaching staff, they say you just can't give him enough credit by looking at his stats of what he does. He's a terrific teammate. He's a terrific defender. And he's a very, very good passer at 6'6".
He lost the basketball there. Dives trying to get it back. And Randy McCall has a foul on Hadziomировich. From Melbourne, Australia.
He and Dremick came here as a pair out of Australia some 3 years ago. Hadziomировich again has battled a lot of injuries in the last 2 years, but he has started a lot of games here. 2 years ago, Drew, when the Broncos went to the NCAA, they were the only team in the NCAA who returned all 5 starters from a team that went to the NCAA. And then, you know, some injuries and some tough luck, some loss in close games, and they weren't able to make it back to the tournament last year.
Nearly a steal by Hadziomировich. Montego Alford is in the basketball game, number 21 for Boise State. 24-17, Utah State. Speaking of success, by the way, on the football field, Utah State had another terrific year. They won the New Mexico Bowl. Here's Collette. Did we not just see that play?
Wow, Collette is just having a field day after coming off a 1-point game against San Jose State. Remember, he is just a freshman. He's an older freshman, but a freshman nonetheless.
Went on a 2-year mission. His mission was in Charlotte. Webb inside, and he lays it home. James Webb with his first bucket.
See if they can do a little something to keep Collette from just going nuts here at half court. Nick Duncan, his man-to-man matchup there, has just had a handful.
They blocked his shot that time. It'll stay with Collette. That was Webb from behind, and we have a timeout. 7:12 to go in an entertaining first half. Utah State on the road, leading by 7. Mountain West basketball on Root Sports is brought to you by Connect for Health Colorado. You might not think you need health insurance. We all do. Get yours today at connectforhealthcolorado.com. That's the drive up to Bogus Basin. It's just outside of town. We could have gone skiing this morning, Joe, you and I. 16 miles away.
Skiing. I don't get out in that cold stuff.
When I come down to see you next, in 2 weeks, we're going skiing.
You can find me at the ski resort bar having an adult beverage, and you can go out and waddle around in that white stuff.
What a shock. You're the king of après ski, Joe Cravens. Drew Goodman, Joe Cravens, Jenny Kavnar. It is 26-19. Utah State on the road in Boise leading by 7. Game number 2 for both of these schools in the very competitive Mountain West. Here's a 3-ball knocked down by number 2, Darius Perkins. He's got 8, his second triple of the early afternoon. And that shot won't go, and it's 1 and out again. Rebound off to Julian Perry, the freshman.
Remember, one of the game keys was the Broncos needed to make this an up and down game, and boy, they've only got 19 points here after 14 minutes. The pace of the game has definitely favored the Aggies with their great half-court execution.
And they're hitting all their shots, but quite honestly, they're getting great looks.
They're getting great looks. I'm a little surprised Boise State hasn't flashed a little zone at them. I'm not sure how much zone defense they have played this year, but boy, they're kind of having their way right now, shooting 64% before that shot, so they're knocking on the door 70% from the field goal range.
Duncan from 3, that's his specialty. He didn't get that one. Long rebound off to Boise State. They kick it off to Duncan again. Got away with a walk, it looked like, and the penetration knocked away. Trying to get to the basket was Montego Alford. 5:43 to go in the first half. The 12-point lead for Utah State, their largest. Harris is going to come back in. Henry Bolton, backup point guard, on the floor for the first time. He's a freshman from Avon Park, Florida, number 20 in blue. And a foul on Perry.
Marks is a big, strong guard. All he's got to get is about a half a step on you, and boy, he puts his body. He gets to the free throw line a lot. He and Mikey Thompson are great at getting it into the paint, but Marks in particular, with his, he kind of strengths it by you almost. He's quick, but boy, he's really strong.
There's a 3 from Montego Alford. His 8th of the year. He's hitting 50% from downtown. And boy, did Boise State need that.
They did. Montego Allen is a kid that kind of changes the pace of the game. I'm sure Coach Rice trying to get this ball up and down the court a little more, but when he can stick a 3, he's even more valuable to his team.
Jalen Moore, step away from 17. Shot goes 16.
Really great defense by Webb there. The 6'8 matchup on Jalen Moore. Great lateral movement and then getting a hand up and contesting a shot. Really good individual defense.
Montego Alford, not this time. Jalen Moore plucks it away. He leads a 3-on-3. Moore kicks it outside. Good look for 3. Nothing but the bottom for Chris Smith.
When you got a guy at 6'8 who can rebound it and bring it in transition, that just plays absolute havoc with your transition defense. Watch who has to pick up the ball here is Montego Allen, and Jalen Moore at 6'8 avoiding a charging foul once again, making a great decision there. And that's one of those stats you don't see. They just that mismatch he causes in transition.
Well, when they called that timeout, Boise State, we looked over and there was Dad, Jimmy. He was standing up and applauding.
But Jimmy Moore, again, a great player at Utah State and a great ambassador now for the university. Originally from the state of Pennsylvania, came a long way out to attend Utah State and make it his home.
Let's check in with Jenny again.
How about this? Jimmy Moore still ranks 24th in all-time school history with his 1,164 points. More importantly, check out the short shorts that he got around. Coach Cravens, I know you know something about those shorts.
Now, wait a minute, Jenny. You know that.
I got a chance to talk with Jimmy Moore a couple of weeks ago in Logan, Utah. We'll have that interview coming up with his son, Jalen, and his other son, Grayson, who is a redshirt senior this year. Hopes to see both his sons play for his alma mater on the floor together next year. That interview will be Wednesday as Utah State and Fresno State play.
Jenny, I mean, how neat is that? I mean, Dad works at the school. He's one of the greatest players at the school, and he gets to next year watch both his kids Pretty neat for
I wonder
the
if he
Moore
still
family.
I wonder if he still has those shorts at home.
He passed them down to his grandkids to be. 14 for Derek Marks. Nobody else but Marks has more than a bucket. There's Moore flying to the basket. Stu Morrill's offense clicking, to say the least.
Well, once again, that falls on the shoulders of the weak side defender. The low guy on the weak side has to be in help position and pick up that slip and that roll on that pick and roll play from the wing.
Off of David Wacker over to Utah State. They've been dominant here on the road. They're up a dozen.
Be there.
Drew, this is the type of ball screen action that is just eating the Boise State defense up. Watch Jalen Moore go out to set this on the ball screen on the wing. Then he slips it, but look at the weak side defender who is number 24, Montego Alford, not alert. Again, the weak side low guy has got to get there and pick that roll up, and that has just plagued the Broncos here in the first half.
And Jalen Moore among the Mountain West Conference leaders in points, rebounds, minutes played. He played some last year. Other than Jalen Moore, virtually everybody else is new, and it bears repeating something we discussed earlier, Joe. 29 years as a head coach, 610 victories for that man, Stu Morrill. And he said, without question, this is the most inexperienced team he's ever gone into a season with. But he's so good. They're 8-5, and here they are on the road against a tough Boise club, and they're up a dozen.
Well, he is a master of execution and defense. Jalen Moore started 5 games last year. You talk about a guy having to grow up early. He's gone from about the 9th guy on the team to their leading scorer and rebounder, and he has, in fact, grown up in a hurry.
Foul was on the floor, no bucket. Much to the disappointment of the crowd here at Boise. Students are still on vacation. They'll be back next week.
Well, if you think that Utah State is not executing very well at the half court, they are shooting 68%, 15 for 22.
Loose basketball. Collette grabs it. And that was a backcourt violation. And Stu Morrill went about 10 feet out onto the floor to get after David Collette. He was upset with where the outlet went.
Yes, it was. With his point guard standing right there in front of him, Darius Perkins, Collette decided to outlet it to half court. Only the Aggies' 3rd turnover of the game. Both these teams, as you mentioned, terrific at taking care of the ball.
Yeah, 2 of the best in the nation, both averaging about just 10 turnovers a game.
Let me tell you something. Stu Morrill at 6'8" is a big man, and he can get your attention when he wants to.
It's funny. He said to us earlier, he said, you know, I'm not as patient as I used to be.
I always, and I love Stu to death. He and I go a long way back. I always visit with his pretty wife, Vicky, before home games when I'm doing TV, and I'll say, how's old Grumpy doing? She'll say, he's grumpy as ever, you know.
It's funny he said, I'm not as patient as I used to be. I remember way back when he coached at Fort Collins in Colorado State. I don't remember being very patient then. Derek Marks having a sensational first half. He's got 17. Single-handedly, he's really keeping Boise State in contact.
Without a doubt. Now, remember, he came off a game where he wasn't 100%, only 8 points at Colorado State and 0 for 3 from the three-point line. You're seeing a pretty healthy Derek Marks tonight.
Here's Perry. Again, great ball movement, and another triple knocked down by Chris Smith. He's quietly had a big first half. He's got 10.
He has very quietly had a great season. He's a junior college kid out of Yuba Community College, and he has had a terrific first year here for the Aggies.
I'll tell you what, Leon Rice, I'm sure, cannot wait to get to the locker room at halftime. And he's going to take all the alarm clocks in the building and set them off at once, because they haven't gotten a wake-up call.
No, they have not. They have gotten off to a very slow start, especially at the defensive end. What you saw there was great half-court offense, a baseline drive, baseline drift, it's called, where if you drive the baseline on one side, the low guy on the other side drifts to the corner, and then one more pass, and they came up with a great shot. The Aggies are putting on a clinic in their half-court offense.
You know, and Joe, there are times that, you know, teams just shoot the ball well, and that jumper's off by Perkins. But this is a case where, yeah, they're shooting it well, but they're getting great looks at the hoop.
Well, look at how many layups Collette has gotten just right at the basket. And as you mentioned before, Derek Marks, who's usually a great second half player, 60% of his points come in the second half. He is just putting the Broncos on his shoulder and keeping them in this game.
Hey, they ran the picket fence there. Wasn't for Jimmy, though. It was for Darius Perkins. Off the block. Out of the corner. That shot was blocked. That was Desmond Trent.
Watch Marks using his great size and strength. He really creates some space there, a little bit of a step back. Derek Marks is an interesting study, Drew. He loves going left. I bet if you broke all of his scoring down in his career here, 60% of it would be going to his left.
Haji Omerovich, the lefty jumper. Inside 50 seconds to play. And now Boise State back with an 8.
Now the crowd waking up. That was a big bucket, because now the Broncos have a chance to go into halftime feeling good about things. If they can get a stop here, just a stop, not even a score at the other end, then they go into halftime with a little momentum.
12-second difference between the two clocks. 6 to shoot it. Still didn't hit any rim, and bad giveaway and an easy hoop underneath for Perry.
Bad decision by the senior Hadsell.
Halftime message was anticipate that Boise State is going to get pretty aggressive. He wants the defense to keep them from attacking the basket and just execute. Finish this game. It is hard to win on the road in the Mountain West. That is for sure. So if Utah State could continue their trend of winning in the Mountain West so far this season with the game today, that'd be a huge step for that program, Drew.
Absolutely, Jenny. And Coach Cravens, I'm reminded a little bit as we see the keys to victory, what Bobby Knight once said. He was going to the locker room when he was coaching Team USA against Canada, and they played about a perfect first half. What do you tell your team? Utah State was pretty flawless.
Well, you tell your team you got to come out and guard a little bit, fellas. But look at the keys to the victory. No second chance shots, and they've done a pretty good job of that. And the best things in life for free throws, they're 2 for 2 there. So the second chance shots has really been an Achilles heel all year. Utah State has really tightened that up. Boise State, they are the ones who are the victim of the pace right now. They've only scored 31 points. Now, Derek Marks has been terrific. 19 first half points. He's kept his team in it.
8 of 13, and 3 of 4 is Marks from three-point range. 19 points, 3 rebounds. Only 5 assisted baskets for Boise State in the first half. There were 13 for Utah State. Now, one of the officials came by and told us why this was taking place, Joe.
One of the Utah State players, number 55, I think way down on the bench, jumps up and dunks the ball during halftime, and that is not legal when the officials are on the floor. So that's a technical foul, and that's how Boise State starts the half, which is a great break for them, cutting into that 10-point lead before the half even starts.
Yeah, that's an enormous break, let's be honest, because there's a psychological barrier you were talking about, Joe, late in the first half, and now it's gone. So an 8-point lead for Utah State, and they have the basketball as we officially begin the second half. And you can tell already, Leon Rice got after his team because the sneakers are squeaking a little bit more on defense.
Isn't that the truth? Only about half a possession there, and boy, you can see the Broncos much quicker to the ball, much more attentive defensively, and Utah State getting a not so good shot because of that.
Dunk in the trailer, and that shot will not go. He's yet to hit from long range. 70 of his 91 shots coming in from three-point range, despite the fact that he's 6'8" and 245.
Well, his first 10 baskets of the year were all three-point makes. But you can only ride that bus so long. People like the Rams of Colorado State start locating you at the three-point line and start taking that away from you.
So Boise State, 2 good defensive possessions to begin the second half. They trailed by 8. Well, a minute into half number 2.
I'm not sure they strung 2 defensive possessions, good defensive possessions in a row the whole first half.
Duncan again left alone, and he's short. Hadzio Maravich taps it home.
And that offensive rebounding, that second shot raises its ugly head for Utah State.
6-point game inside the Moore. That's broken up. Jalen comes up with it. Stepping into a 3 and missing was Perry.
Boy, this looks like a different Broncos team this half, doesn't it, Drew? Boy, quick and attentive.
Duncan, look at that. Put it on the floor. Reverse layup for Nick Duncan. And that's a smart play. You know what? 3 not going down. Hard closeout. He went by it.
And in less than 2 minutes, the Broncos have cut 6 points off of that 10-point lead and have just grasped momentum here early in the second half, down 4.
Tris Smith, and that jumper short. Long rebound to Perry, and he's short with it. Excuse me, that was Perkins.
Good decision by Hadzio Maravich to bring it out and run a little offense rather than force that, knowing when to put the pedal to the metal, when to back it off.
Duncan, how often does that happen? Hit one inside, all of a sudden you find your range from deep. It's a 1-point game.
No question. He'd missed 2 previous threes, got to the basket and got a 2, and then follows it up with a 3. And Boise State back in this game in a big, big way.
9-0 blitz from the hometown team to begin the second half. Nick Duncan leading the way, 41-40. Utah State had a 10-point lead at halftime. That's all but gone in the first 2:44, Joe Craven, to the second half.
Well, what we're going to see is a lot of offensive highlights, but where the Broncos have really gotten it done, they have picked up the pace at the defensive end that has allowed them to be better offensively. Utah State with no baskets this half, and this is the Boise Bronco team that we expected tonight. Spreading the floor, playing off each other's dribble penetration, and big Nick Duncan, 6'8", 245 from Australia, with 5 second half points here in the first 2+ minutes.
Now let's see how Stu Morrill's relatively inexperienced team responds. Ozio Maravich off to Duncan, another 3-ball, and Boise State has their first lead.
Terrific play by Leon Rice coming out of that halftime, or that timeout, going right back to the guy that had the hot hand, Nick Duncan. A little curl screen. Duncan pips and pops and gets to that 3-point shot. Duncan now with 8 points here in 3 minutes.
He was shut out in the first half. And Boise State's defense, it's like there are different players wearing the white uniforms.
Well, like you say, now those sneakers are squeaking around pretty good now. I got to imagine my buddy Leon Rice kind of lit a fire there at halftime.
Well, we said it. With about 2-3 minutes to go in the first half, he knew he could not wait to get to the locker room.
Right. Playing with much more energy, much quicker to the ball. Just an absolutely different team than was on defense in the first half.
Collette, and he loses it, gets it back, and he's fouled.
Remember how many times Collette rolled to the basket uncontested on that pick and roll? He was swarmed that time. 4 white jerseys around him. Now he ended up getting fouled, getting to the free throw line. But that is a great example. Here's this pick and roll that he made a living on in the first half, and he ran into a batch of piranhas on that roll.
Collette with his 9th point. Redshirt freshman from Murray, Utah, but he's a little older. Served a Mormon mission and also a redshirt year as well. So he's almost 4 years removed from high school, and he is quite a talent.
Stu Morrill simply says he's a typical Utah freshman. A lot of that going on in all of the in-state schools. A red shirt, go away on a mission, you come back as a 21-year-old freshman.
Duncan with an entry pass, and Utah State pries it away from Mikey Thompson. Here's Collette. And his pass, was it deflected? It was. Good call underneath. That was Randy McCall. As the lead official, he saw a hand on the basketball, so it stays with the Aggies.
Good call by Randy McCall. Last year voted the most outstanding official in the entire NCAA.
How about that? Randy's been doing it a long time. He worked last night. He worked the Colorado-UCLA game. There's Randy.
Well, Randy's not only an outstanding official, he has got that great demeanor that coaches like to get along with. He talks to you. He doesn't, talk down to you as a coach, and he is on the money almost every time.
Reminds me of my old partner, guy you know well also, Irv Brown.
Irv Brown was a wonderful official.
43-43. Ozio Maravich with it. Here's Marks. He gets doubled, and he's stripped. That was a good dig by Chris Smith, the junior from Sacramento.
Mark's usually very effective down around the low block with that big, strong body. That time got double teamed, and I thought maybe a foul might have been called there, but obviously there wasn't.
JoJo McGlaston, shot clock down to 12. Perkins, get it out of here. James Webb. Utah State will have it when we come back. 9 on the shot clock. That's a big block.
A great example of the change of attitude for the Broncos on the defensive end here in the second half. You heard me talk the whole first half about being alert on the weak side. James Webb Jr., or James Webb III, excuse me, coming from that low position on the weak side to save a layup. And again, the Broncos on point defensively here in the second half.
9 on the shot clock for Utah State, who shot at 63% in the first half. They had a couple of 12-point leads, led by 10 at the break. That's all gone. And the step-away 3 off the back of the iron from Jalen Moore.
And another great hustle play by Webb, chasing that rebound down some 15 to 20 feet away from where he was when that ball went up. One reason the Aggies are having trouble making baskets, they've got no easy looks this half.
Talked a lot about Derek Marks, the guy up top with the basketball. Just gave it up. Mikey Thompson shut out in the first half. Marks with 21 now. Excuse me, 23.
Marks doing a great job of moving without the ball. And Nick Duncan, a nice pass. Boise State now really extending their defense after made baskets into a little 2-2-1 press and back to their man-to-man.
McGlaston leans in, no go. Moore hit from behind by Duncan.
As picture perfect as the offensive execution was for the Aggies in the first half, that was helped a lot by the lack of attentiveness by the Boise State Broncos. And this half now, Boise State has turned the heat up, and the Aggies not looking quite so cohesive.
Yeah, well, Leon Rice's team in the midst of a 14-2 run. They've hit their last 5 shots. They have a 45-43 lead on their home floor. 14:21 to go in the second half. Smith set play, and he knocks down a triple. Wow. The guy that's always opens the inbounders.
Yeah.
Is that always the case, Joe?
Yeah. But that was a tough shot. I thought Boise State played that pretty well. Chris Smith jumped up as the ball was in the air and got set, and, man, made a terrific shot there.
He can shoot it. He's got 13. Mikey Thompson, no go. Tapped that by Hire. Loose basketball away to Utah State. Perkins waits for his teammates to get into the offensive flow. Aggies back up by 1. This looks like it may be destined to go down to the wire now. McGlaston, a line drive triple, a 4-point lead.
Another great play by Chris Smith, though, penetrating and what coaches call a draw and kick, drawing an extra defender and kicking it out to McGlaston. McGlaston was a kid who started for a great deal the early part of the season, and boy, just got to where he couldn't make a basket.
That's Harris pulling down the rebound. One shot now. Duncan could not connect. And now Utah State's kind of quieted the storm a little bit.
No question. No question. Now it's kind of gotten back to a little bit of a half-court execution type game, a grinded-out game.
Thompson surveys. Hire off to Marks. Back to Hire. And that pass broken up. Here comes Perkins. He has McGlaston. He'll take it himself. And around the world it goes. That was a good decision by Darius Perkins. He's in double figures with 10. Utah State very balanced offensively this afternoon. 12:21 to go. We have a timeout. And it's a 6-point lead now for Utah State after a 14-2 run by Boise.
Well, neither team turns it over very much, but when they do, this is what happens. Is an easy basket at the other end as Darius Perkins makes the Broncos pay for that paint-to-paint pass that ended up going the other way. What we're seeing is a classic college basketball game with the Broncos coming out, making a run. Utah State settling down, making now their first run of the second half.
Only one bucket off the bench for Utah State. The starters have all the points save 2.
Go
ahead. I'm sorry, Coach.
I'm going to mention Chris Smith, the kid that has quietly put together another great night. 10 points, 4 assists, no turnovers.
Well, I wasn't so quietly going to tell you that there's more Mountain West basketball coming up this week on Root Sports. Wednesday night at 9, Utah State. They'll be in action against Fresno State. Root Sports, your home for Mountain West basketball all season long. 51-45. Utah State with the lead and the rock as they head up the floor against a little pressure.
We already knew all that information. That's the reason I interrupted you.
I figured as much. You're working that game, aren't you?
I am. Boise State coming out with trying to make a home run play out of that timeout, which was a pretty good call by Leon Rice. Just not able to pull off that lob play to James Webb III.
You know what's interesting about both of these coaches? Stu Morrow, 29 years. I mean, he's on the all-time victory list of active coaches, more than 600. Leon Rice, so well respected. Their roots are in this part of the country.
Well, Stu Morrow grew up in Provo and then ended up playing at Gonzaga, where Leon Rice was a 17-year assistant.
Yep, Leon Rice very close with Mark Few. Let's check in again with Jenny.
Well, you guys mentioned earlier in the broadcast Anthony Dremick out for the remainder of his senior season. He is set to have ankle surgery on January 8th. It's to fix chronic instability by tightening his ligaments. So he will apply for a medical hardship. Hopefully that will be granted next year. Leon Rice then looking forward to getting him back as part of this team. But Derek Marks told me earlier today it's his opportunity to step up, become a bigger leader on this team. And by scoring 23 points on the floor today, I think he's showing some of that.
Yeah, no question, Jenny. You know, a lot of times you just look at a stat sheet and go, okay, what'd you lose? You know, mid-teen score, guy pretty good rebounder. He's their toughest player also.
Well, Leon Rice said he is so tough. That's what he brings to the table. He's their leading scorer, second leading rebounder. He created all kinds of matchup problems. It's like losing 3 different guys from what he brings to the table. Chronic instability. I may have a touch of that myself, not in the ankle.
No, you just
overall.
Not you might, you do. But I'm not a clinician. But it's just by amateur.
I'll seek an operation on that. Down to your advice.
6-point lead for the Aggies.
College hoops.
State Capitol in the background. Canadian Geese looking for a meal. 51-45. Utah State leading in Boise by 6. They're up 10 at halftime. With Joe Cravens and Jenny Kavnar, I'm Drew Goodman. Glad you're with us. An early afternoon start. And clearly in the first half, Boise State a little late to rise. Utah State got out of bed and they hit 63% in the first half. Hadjimarovich maybe was fouled by Collette, no call. They have to get one off, and it's a shot clock violation.
Well, that out-of-bounds play was supposed to go to a lob to the front of the rim. Utah State did a nice job of defending that, and consequently ended up getting Boise State to commit that shot clock violation.
This is Henry Bolton on the floor, number 20 for Stu Morrill's team. Shot clock down to 15. Ball screen set by Collette. McGlaston leans in and hits JoJo McGlaston, the biology major from Dublin, California. Known more for his defense.
Well, he can really get to the paint and rise up. He hit some big three-point shots for them early in the year. And then, like I say, he just kind of lost his shooting touch and lost his starting job to the freshman Perry.
Joe Hanstead misses. And that's Moore with the loose basketball. Utah State has done a very good job on the glass. They came in -8. -8 per game, not on the season.
Well, their opponents have gotten 90 more shots than they have because of their liability on the defensive glass and giving up so many offensive rebounds.
Yeah, and if you do the math, that's 7 shots a game. That's I mean, even if you hit only 2 or 3, you're talking about a 4 or 6 point swing. Well, maybe more if it's a 3.
Like I used to explain to my team, that's like starting the game saying we're going to give you 7 attempts here. We're going to give you the ball 7 times and see what you can do, and then we'll start the game. That's what that is. That's 7 extra possessions a game. And like I say, that is just so unusual for a Stu Morrill team because they are usually terrific on the glass.
Terrific on the glass and terrific defensively.
They're very, very good defensively this year, but they don't always go together.
Moore, that will count. Jalen Moore, an off-balance jump hook, and the lead jumps back to 10. So again, Utah State, the first 5 minutes all into the second half by Boise State, but the last few, it's back to the Aggies.
This is a staple of Stu Morrill's set plays. That small to big cross screen, and they'll run it in a variety of ways. The significance of being small to big, it's a small guy screening for a big guy, and that can't be switched. And I'm telling you, they'll get, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 baskets a game off of that same action. Again, they run it in a variety of ways, but he is a master of that, that type of screening action.
Interesting, no fouls here in the second half on the Aggies. 5 team fouls on Boise State, who came out far more aggressive.
And now
Utah State's into a zone.
Back to a 10-point lead, Drew, after giving up that 10-point lead to start the half in about 3 minutes. The Aggies have regained their composure and now got a 10-point cushion.
Henry Bolton with the block, and he'll come out of the basketball game. Good help defense by Bolt. JoJo McGlaston getting a slap on the back from his head coach Stu Morrill. 5 to shoot it. Boise State, I don't know if they realize it's down to 3. Mikey Thompson does now, and it's run down by Chris Smith. 10-point lead for Utah State. Slip the screen. Collette drives. Missed the dunk. Maybe getting a piece of it was Webb.
And then Collette showing his inexperience as a freshman, getting frustrated that he didn't get the call at the other end, then comes down and tries to take it away from a point guard. And those are the things as a coach that just drive you crazy. You got to let that play go that you didn't get the call and get back and not make a silly play like Collette did.
That almost works. Here's Smith. He's going one-on-one, and he hangs, does not hit. Tapped around, loose ball foul on Sean Harris.
And a few misses by Chris Smith. 5 for 7 before that with 13 points, 5 assists, no turnovers. He is as effective and does it as quietly as any player I have seen this year. You almost don't notice him until you look at the stat sheet.
Well, look at that graphic there. Boise 12-0 blitz to start the half. They've got 6 minutes with nada.
Well, a great swing and momentum. And Leon Rice understanding that as well. I think the officials trying to take a little control here now with the last couple calls. They may have let it got a little ragged with a couple no calls. Now trying to grasp control again.
They got to get Marks going again. And he misses from 18. There's Hire.
Terrific rebound by Hire.
Duncan drives in, waits, reverse, no good. Affected by Moore. Well, Jalen Moore's played a solid game. Both ends.
He really has. He just, like I said, he had to grow up quickly this year, and he's done just that. He's having an all-conference type season.
An open look there. Somebody opened the door. That'll take us to a timeout. 7:56.
They kind of missed that early morning wake-up call maybe and just weren't ready to play. And as we speak, they commit their 12th turnover of the night.
And that was just Desmond Trent just took his eyes off it.
No, you can't coach that. You can't correct them and say, hey, next time catch the ball, son. Desmond Trent, a kid that's a big, strong athlete, getting his, doesn't play a lot, but you got to make the most of your time.
Perkins, a pull-up. And Moore follows it up, but I don't think that's going to count. We had a foul before that.
I think that was a block out or pushing call on the rebound.
Foul count. 6 on Boise State, 3 on Utah State. 1-1 at 7 fouls, as you're aware. Great in said earlier with double screen up high.
Anytime you can get over the top of the screen like that, an individual defense, that is really a great effort.
Here's Smith, and he was tagged by Duncan. 3 free throws coming.
Oh, wow, what an awful mistake. The cardinal sin of defense is never foul a jump shooter, and especially a three-point shooter. And Greg Nixon right there, and that was definitely a call, not an awful foul, but a foul.
Smith knocks down the free throw, his 14th point. As a team, Utah State shooting 69% from the line.
That guy to foul, too. Smith, an 80% free throw shooter, coming off a very good game in their first conference win over San Jose State, where he had 14 points.
12-point lead. They had several of these in the first half. Boise State came back here in the second half to take a couple of leads. Duncan, that's his spot. Far baseline, it's back to 9. Duncan has 11, all here after the break.
And credit Marks, although Marks may have turned his ankle, that one has been ailing here. He did a great job of penetrating that seam in the zone, occupying 2 defenders and finding Duncan in the corner.
Sean Harris looked like a reluctant shooter there. And flipped up and in by Desmond Trent. And it's a 7-point game.
Marks
checking
really
8-point
hobbling
game
right now, Drew. Marks is really hurting with that ankle, but it looks like he's going to stay in. Desmond Trent wasn't, that was not a thing of beauty, but it went down.
Hire pulls it down. Here comes Boise State. Mikey Thompson gets in deep, and he was fouled. And we talked about him off the top. In fact, he was the guy we featured in the open, #1 in white. And he's had a quiet game offensively, but he can erase the first 35 minutes of the evening, basically, or the afternoon, with a strong finish for Boise.
This is what he can do, especially to his left. He has a great inside-out dribble. He's got a great hesitation dribble all to his left. He's coming off a game where he got to the free throw line 11 times. against the Colorado State Rams, and he had no points at halftime. He can really help his Broncos if he gets going.
That's his first point.
He's 0 for 2 at halftime. But that's where he's really good, in the open court like that, getting to the basket with it. And he and Marks both are right-handed, but they both love getting to their left with the ball.
He knocks both free throws down. 5:52 left. It's a 5-point game again. 7-0 run for Boise State. And that's a foul on Trent. Well, Trent's built like a linebacker. And when he makes contact with you, you move.
He's a big, strong kid out of Tacoma, Washington. I remember when Coach Rice and staff signed him. They thought they'd really gotten a good one. And I even asked Coach Rice about him for the game. He said he's starting to figure it out a little bit, you know, and that he wants to be a good player. He's putting the time in. He just needs a little seasoning.
He's an academic All-Mountain West Conference player last year, and he pulls down the rebound off the miss.
Smith may be showing a little fatigue there. I don't know that he's come out of the game tonight. That was not a very well shot free throw. His hands all the way down by his hips when the ball got to the rim.
Marks loses it out of bounds. Which way? It'll stay with Boise. 57-52, Utah State leading. Mountain West Conference game number 2 for both schools. Boise State lost on the road to 24th ranked Colorado State in their conference opener, while Utah State won at home in a big way over San Jose State.
And once again, Mikey Thompson, as I said, this is where he's best, in the open floor like this and getting to his left. What he has some issues doing is completing the play just like that, although Jalen Moore got over there from the weak side and made that a tough shot.
Stu Morrill didn't like the call by Greg Nixon. There was contact. And actually, you know, I think Stu's saying that it's not Thompson at the line, it's higher, and I think Stu's right.
I think that was a rebounding foul.
It wasn't on the shot,
yeah,
right.
Right. This higher kid has given them a big lift energy-wise this half.
Now, Stu said it's the other kid, it's higher. Higher 7 for 7 this year from the line. But Stu's thinking his Thompson plays a lot more minutes, and Higher misses his first free throw of the year.
Here comes the foul.
There's no call there. Here's the call over the back on Smith.
Yes.
Oh, and look at that. Higher, who had been perfect, misses both. And Stu Morrill pointing that out, has to feel good about getting the change at the line. So it remains a 5-point Aggie lead. Coming up on the 5-minute mark. Inside to Collette.
Really good post defense by Duncan. Just stayed down and stayed between Collette and the basket and made Collette try to score over him.
Trent posting up on Smith. He went quick, didn't get it, and it's pulled away by Jalen Moore.
Coach Leon Rice showing a lot of faith in his bench. Both Hazio Maravich and Webb on the bench in this last 5 minutes.
Well, that's an NBA move by Desmond Trent. Give him some body and then back off, and Smith stumbled.
Well, like you said earlier in this half, Drew, this one has all the potential to go right down to the wire. The Broncos could really help themselves with a score here and get a little momentum going. Marks has been relatively quiet after 19 points in the first half.
Duncan gets doubled. 3 ball. Knocked down out of the corner. How big was that for Marks?
Nice job by Duncan reading the double team. The Aggies coming to double Duncan on the low post. And Marks, being a veteran, found a place where he could get to him, get the pass to him, creating an open passing lane.
2-point game.
Marks must have heard me talking about him. He's been quiet this half.
They go to Collette. He leans in and he misses again, a shot that he ordinarily makes.
Nice job by Desmond Trent. All night I've been harping on getting over from the weak side and picking up that roll, and Desmond Trent did just that.
Weak side board to Smith off the Marks miss. 2-point game, 3:20 to go in regulation. 57-55, Utah State on the road in Boise. Perkins, no go. Taps at it, and it comes outside to Collette.
Boy, the Broncos needed to secure and finish off that defensive possession in a big way, now to give the Aggies another chance.
Smith elevates, 3-ball, no go. And it'll be on Collette, loose ball foul. Timeout, 2:47 left. 2-point game.
Set a freshman record in the opening game for the most points by a freshman with 22 against Weber State. Then the most points in a game for a freshman at 32 against USC. And there's been a lot of good freshmen come through Utah State.
They break the pressure, 20 now to shoot it. Utah State +2 on the scoreboard.
Well, the Broncos doing a lot better job of playing those ball screens than they did the first half.
Pull-up jumper, Darius Perkins did it himself. He's got a dozen. Junior from Fort Myers, Florida.
A junior college kid, his first year, he's really starting to come into his own.
Collette affected that, and Boise State came away with Webb. Timeout call. Marks Sr., such a shrewd move there. He saw that Webb was in trouble, maybe would fall out of bounds, got the timeout call.
That may be his best play of the night.
And he's had a real good night.
Yeah, he's had a real good night, standing right by the official, and as you said, saw Webb was in trouble. Timeout. Terrific awareness by the senior.
By the way, we're so accustomed to saying night. We know it's early afternoon. Jenny, we can't see outside though, Jenny.
No, you cannot see outside, but it is midday, just so you gentlemen know. Coming in to this Mountain West Conference season, Utah State preseason pick number 10, and for good reason, because just a few guys returning. One of those guys, Jalen Moore, who had his 12th straight double-digit scoring game tonight. And in fact, his experience, well, it went back to having 5 starts under his belt from last season. So Jalen had to step up big this year, as did several of the younger players. And for Coach Morrill, I think he wasn't shocked they were preseason ranked 10. I got a chance to talk to him a couple weeks ago about it. He said, people don't know what we have. Well, I think he's starting to come to know what his team does have and how competitive they're going to try and be in the Mountain West Conference. This game right here shows that all, you guys.
Yeah, and Jenny, to embellish what you're talking about, Stu told us that he really likes this group. They're inexperienced, but he likes how coachable they are, how hard they play. And listen, if you listen to Coach Morrill, Tim Duryea's been with them for 14 years. He has a great staff, and they're going to figure it out pretty quickly. Mountain West, tough to figure this year. Colorado State clearly better than some thought they'd be. They're 24th in the nation. San Diego State 25th in the coaches poll. Even Air Force gave San Diego State on the road all they wanted the other day.
Oh, I think there's great parity in the league this year.
That's a great play. 3 off the double screen. Derek Marks has 29.
Derek Marks with 6 30-point scoring games in his career. 2 this year, knocking on the door of his 7th. How about this as a turn in fortune? Utah State 63% in the first half. This half they're shooting 20%.
But they're up 1. 1:15 to go. There's a steal. Webb stepped out of bounds. So close.
Now will the shot clock reset? That's the big question. Because if it does, did he have control?
They're saying he did. And they'll get a fresh 35. And you're right, Coach. That's huge. It just changes your strategy.
That is big. You know, talking to Coach Rice before the game, how many of these conference games, and we were just talking about the parity, Drew, in the league, will come down to situations just like this. Coach Rice was saying, hey, we're down 1 with 90 seconds left at Colorado State. We miss a layup. It gets kicked out to Duncan. He misses a wide open 3. They get it and come down and score, and now to a 2-possession game. And very similar here. One point game, 1:16 left. If Webb comes up with that play, it's a 1-point Boise State lead. Most of these games are going to come down to the last 90 seconds to 2 minutes.
Utah State leading 59-58.
And I've always thought one of the big keys to your success, your level of success for the season, Drew, is one, what kind of year your seniors have. And they don't have to be stars, but they have to be good people, good leaders, and be what they're supposed to be. And two, how many close games you win. And sometimes that's just a bounce of the ball, as we just saw.
And they did change it, so it's 9 on the shot clock. They said no possession.
Great break there for the home team. Utah State, Stu Morrill, the master of running set plays after a timeout.
It's interesting because Stu still uses those notebooks, and there's a dummy notebook and there's a live notebook.
You know, they've gotten away from the 2 notebook thing that they went to for a while there. I think that I don't know whether people aren't scouting them. It used to be Utah State was a whole lot easier when you could come up with those calls and know that, you know, blue was going to be the cross screen, down screen, or whatever. And then they went to like a baseball team with a dummy, a ploy call, and then the real call. But I've only seen them use the 1 notebook here of late. They're still hard to guard. I don't care if you know what's coming or not.
Well, what do you look to here at 9 for Utah State?
Well, probably a high ball screen and try to get some penetration to a kick out.
Smith with it, back to Jalen Moore. Contested 3, and it'll go over to Boise State with 1:09 left, trailing by 1. Mikey Thompson, Derek Marks in the backcourt. This is Marks with it. They clear a side for him. He penetrates, was fouled on the floor by JoJo McGlaston, who's the best perimeter defender for Utah State, and he's got the tough assignment of Marks. But Marks will go to the line to shoot a 1-and-1. That was a 17th foul on the Aggies.
And as I said about Marks, he shows absolutely no emotion on that play. Here he is with the biggest free throws of the game, and he looks like he's just another day at the park.
Nothing but the cords, his 30th point. He's 3 of 3 from the line, 85% on the season.
The 7th 30-point scoring game of his career.
That is something. I mean, you're talking about this is college basketball. Only 40 minutes of regulation time. And those 2 free throws give Boise State a 60-59 lead with a minute to go. See how Utah State reacts. When they break the trap, they haven't been aggressive going to the basket. They've almost been content to settle.
Well, the mission of that press is to get them to burn a little clock and then just guard them at half court. And they've done a nice job of that.
Shot clock down to 6. Loose basketball grabbed by Boise. They got the foul. There's less than 35 left. So Boise State with the great defensive sequence. And now James Webb III will have a 1-and-1 with 25 seconds left, and Boise leading by 1.
Webb has only attempted 17 free throws this year, 11 for 17, 64%. I tell you, he has been extraordinarily active here in the last couple minutes, coming up with big defensive plays, coming up with loose balls. His energy has really gotten Boise State over the hump here down the stretch.
Stu Morrill's team has 1 timeout left. A couple of timeouts for Leon Rice at Boise State.
These 2 teams split last year, winning on their home court. Last year, Utah State had a 5-point lead with a minute and a half to go, and Boise State came back and stowed that one away, almost the same way that this one appears to be going down. In that game, Derek Marks scored the last 7 points for the Broncos and made an outstanding defensive play. Once again, Marks is doing his deal down the stretch.
Both teams going to their respective benches. I think Randy McCall was checking to see if the clock was accurate, and it was off by 6/10. So the foul was actually committed with 26.5 seconds left. And as you know, because you've been in a ton of these, that's an eternity.
Sure it is. And this is a 1-and-1. If he hits both, it's still just a one-possession game. If he hits one, the Aggies can come down and play for the tie or play for the win.
And with that much time on the clock, if he makes this, don't you try to get the quick two?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking if you're Leon Rice, do you foul? But I think there's too much time left there.
Which way? It'll go to Utah State.
No, Randy McCall is pointing.
Now Randy McCall, the outside
way.
official, is pointing toward Boise.
Utah State ball.
Now they will
They're going to look
here.
at it.
Nice hustle play by Collette. Now this one's going to go down to who touched it in that last scrum there. Obviously, this is huge. The ball goes to the Broncos. All they've got to do is get the ball in, and the Aggies have to foul immediately. If it's Utah State, they've got a chance to come down, put their head down, and get it as deep as they can with penetration, and either draw a foul or get it all the way to the basket. Utah State with one timeout left, Boise State with two. If it's a Utah State ball, Drew, you back your guards up, try to get a catch, and just let one of your better guards, hopefully Perkins, go as deep as he can with it.
(61-59). You know, people always love to get on officials. Doesn't matter what the sport is. I mean, you can slow that thing down, boy, 8 different ways and from all different angles. It's tough to figure out. People want those guys to come up with it live.
Yes, and that was a great rule change a few years ago that allowed the officials to go to the monitor in the last minute to play and to make that call. Right now, boy, I don't know. I don't know whose it is. Obviously, the biggest play of the game right here.
You know what? There's no way to venture a guess. And the most important thing, I think, right now for Utah State and their fans is that the call was Utah State basketball. So you'd have to see something that would overturn that.
And whoever's ball it is going to be in a real awkward position there. That's not like taking it off the baseline. You can't run the baseline. It's kind of in that corner. That's, like I said, one of those awkward type positions. I have actually, if I were going the other way, I've actually run an in-out of bounds play there just to get the ball in. If it's Utah State, you know, that's a tough place to inbound it from. And if it's Boise State, that's remember they're 5-on-4 defensively, and it's no sure bet that you're going to get the ball in from there.
It will go to Utah State. Boise State leading by 2, 23 plus to go.
Boise State extending their defense in that soft press. Look for the Aggies to get as far into the paint as they can.
They're trapping in the backcourt. And Smith loses the basketball. They have to foul.
James Webb, the third, I said, had been so active in this last 2.5 minutes. And Stu Morrill just throws his hands up in frustration. Watch James Webb, the third, get his hands. That's the reason he's on the point of this press at 6'8", long and athletic.
And I'll tell you something else Boise State did. After they got possession, they got 3 passes off to get the ball to Derek Marks before the foul came. Marks can make it a 2-possession game with both free throws. And it rolls out. He missed the front end, an 85% free throw shooter. 9 and a timeout called by Utah State. So they'll have 8 seconds. We'll see if that changes. Randy McCall's now walking over to the check to make sure they have the clock right. But they'll have somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 seconds. And again, they only need 2 to tie it. You don't have to take the 3. What do you draw up here?
What a change of fortune. Well, Jalen Rose being their best player, they went to him last time. I think almost everyone goes to a high ball screen here with Darius Perkins trying to create something. Get it to the paint to a possible kick out, or get it to the paint to a foul, or get it to the paint for a layup. But I think you've got to get the ball in. The first thing you got to do is get the ball in. And sometimes coaches forget, well, we get it in, we're going to run this. You got to make sure you get a safe catch. Even, Drew, if you have to throw it into the backcourt here to get it to your guard and let him put his head down and try to force the issue.
There's Jalen Moore's father, Jimmy, assistant athletic director at Utah State, one of the school's all-time greats in basketball.
Now look for Boise State, to do a lot of switching here. They have 3 guys on the perimeter that are like sizes.
Here's Perkins. He's got to go. 4 on the shot clock. Got in the air. Collette forced for 3. Got it at the buzzer. Utah State wins it. He got it out of his hand. Wow. They're going to check it, but it looked like he got it out of his hand. It was a prayer.
Well, the high ball screen, the double high ball screen, Perkins almost turned it over in the play, jumped up, and just kind of flipped it to the freshman Collette. And like you say, Collette just threw a prayer up there at 6'8", gosh, over Nick Duncan.
And there's no question he got it off. No question he got it off. Utah State with a 62-61 victory. And it is now official as
what a job the Aggies have done to come in here, pick 10th in the league, a 4-game losing streak early in the season, to come in here and knock off the Broncos on their home court. What a great, great college basketball game.
Unbelievable game. And you think about, Utah State dominated the first half. They were up by double digits. They were up by double digits in the second half. And it looks like Boise's going to survive. And then the prayers answered. David Collette. Let's check in with Jenny.
Coach Morrill, bottom line, 2-0 in conference play. Not the easiest second half for you guys, but how about the play of Collette tonight?
Well, I think we deserved to win the game the way we played for the majority of the game, but then we're in a position where we're probably going to lose it. The last play was not exactly how you draw it up, but we'll take it, and we're very excited to be where we're at.
You have a very young team. You knew coming into this season you weren't even sure how to assess your team yet. Now through 2 games of conference play, what is your assessment?
We're trying. We're getting better. We're trying. That's all we can keep doing.
All right, congratulations, Coach. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
You got to love it. We're trying. David Collette, for the record, that was his 5th three-point attempt of the year. His 2nd make. None bigger. 62-61. Utah State has come to Boise and pulled off an improbable upset with a dagger at the horn for Joe Cravens and our entire Root Sports crew. Drew Goodman saying good afternoon from Boise. We'll talk to you again soon.